What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and once again I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40k. Well, in this instance is Warhammer 30k, because today I am talking about the Interex. The Interex has always been an interesting piece of lore, up there with the Cabal in the terms of interest, because they hold a lot of cause and effects that shaped the universe to be the Warhammer 40k that we know it to be. So the Interex is essentially an offshoot of humanity that left Terra and went into the stars. I guess you can say they are a what-if scenario, because the Imperium is essentially cousins to what the Interex are. The Interex went into one section of space, and they did their diplomacy, and they did everything they did similar but vastly different than that of the Imperium. Whereas the Imperium conquered through war, the Interex conquered through diplomacy. Where the Imperium countered human civilizations, it was either join us or die. Where the Interex said, join us or be put into a prison world. And that can be seen in the world known as Murder. Within the book The Horus Heresy, Horus Rising, we see the Horus, I'm going to say the Sons of Horus, but they're Luna Wolves at this time, go into this world to save some fallen Blood Angels and fallen Emperor's children that are just being tormented by this mega arachnids. Think of them as Tyranids, just not as prone to evolution. They have like a tough chitinous exoskeleton, and their arms are that of like blades. They're really powerful to the point where these things are taking out Space Marines left and right. So they are definitely not a Xenos race that can be, brushed off or really ignored. And they were so strong that they took out a force of Blood Angels, and a fleet of Emperor's children went to go back them up, and they too were put in peril, and the Luna Wolves came in to rescue them. Now, this world was a prison planet unbeknownst to the Imperium, and it turned out that the Interex came and made contact with the Imperium. Horus, which was the War Master at the time, ended up talking to the Interex and trying to basically broker a treaty of sorts, because this is a brand new finding for the Imperium. The Imperium subjugated worlds under their control. That is what the Emperor wanted. A united Imperium where all humanity is together. And the Interex, they are also humans. But these humans have made treaties and have allied themselves with Xeno species. I believe they're called the Kinebrock, if that is a correct pronunciation. To me, the way they described them, they look like these guys from the Halo series. They're like brutish, almost kind of ape-like or gorilla-like in appearance, but they have like awesome technology and even scarier weaponry. We'll get to that later. So the Interex proved something very different for the Imperium to get their hands on, more or less, and Horus knew this. So, where a lot of other Space Marines, such as Abaddon, was like, we have to destroy them, they are a threat to us colonizing the galaxy, Horus didn't want to do that right away. Horus knew that they were indeed humankinds, and as such should be subjugated into the role of praising the Emperor and following into the Imperial Creed, and the Interex always kept them at arm's length for one huge reason, and that is that the Interex knew the dangers of the warp, and so they assumed that maybe this offshoot of humanity that have splintered away from them splintered because of the taint of chaos. And they were kind of right, because, spoiler alert, you have Erebus doing his schemes, and Erebus ended up going into one of these vaults, or I guess museums, of Xeno weapons of the Interex, and he took the famed Anathame Blade. This weapon from the Kinebrock is essentially a weapon that curses a singular target and becomes the antithesis to that target, killing them or at least tainting them no matter what. just to show you like the awesome armaments of these warriors, the Interex were able to go toe-to-toe with Space Marines. Within the pages of Horus Rising, you have, I guess you could say, the main character of the book, Garvio Loken, fighting against another famed warrior of the Interex, and these guys, they have a pretty epic battle. However, where the Space Marine has bulky armor, bolters, and power swords, the Interex have sleek armor, they have spears, and they have a sword similar to that of, like, you know, a power weapon. But in this case, it seemed that Loken had the upper hand most of the time. He was holding back because the two did share a talk, and he saw them as friends. And Loken was revealed the treacheries of chaos through this Interex soldier, so he didn't want to kill him outright. Now, the armor of these warriors could withstand bolter rounds. I think it took like 6 or 7 rounds from a storm bolter to actually pierce their armor. And not just that, but they also have a supplement to the warrior in a form of like a horse-like piece of equipment, essentially making the warrior into a centaur, or the Sagittarius, if you will. If you've read Horus Rising, you'll see the symbology and the importance of the centaur, and it's interesting because Horus was given the Sagittar symbology by the Emperor himself, where he is also a man, but also a weapon of war, combined all into one. And that is exactly what Horus and the Imperium ended up fighting because of Erebus. So Erebus broke into the vaults, like I said, and stole this piece of weaponry to allow the gods of chaos to further their plans, to allow Horus to fall to chaos and create the Horus heresy, etc., etc. But the Interex, they knew of this, and they were really hesitant to ally with humanity of the Imperium. So what could have been an awesome bloom for humanity to become a superpower ended up being basically a battleground. Horus, Loken, the Mournival, and the Luna Wolves all went to battle against the Interex, and it was a battle unlike any other they've seen. The weaponry, the technology, the ships of the Interex were highly advanced, but where they were lacking is the brutality of the Imperium. The Emperor really did create the Space Marines and his legions to be brutal, unrelenting weapons of war, and where the Interex didn't really need that, because of course they focused on diplomacy first and foremost, and then warfare. So even though they had the capabilities to hold their own against the Space Marines, they just failed, or I guess you could say they paled in comparison to the brutality of the Space Marine. Now, it's very interesting that we have very little artwork of the soldiers of the Interex. Here we have one, and I believe it's just fan art. There's no official art for the Interex soldiers, and it's very interesting to see how the Imperium and how Warhammer 40k would have changed if this was the Imperium that we had, or at least we followed the humans of the Interex instead of the humans of the Imperium. Two vastly different civilizations, but also very, very close in the ways that they wage war and just who they are in general. So that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I just wanted to get my thoughts on the Interex and trying to let you guys know more lore of humanity, that, you know, humanity through the Imperium was not the only superpower out there in the stars of the Milky Way galaxy. There were other ways that humanity did evolve, and these humans might have been the good guys in some eyes, whereas you see the Imperium being oppressive, very prone to war, just outright killing things if they, you know, get questioned. It's, you know, fight, or I guess you could say the orcs said it best, Mike makes right, where the Interex, they, you know, prospered through diplomacy, prospered through progression through xeno races. So who's in the wrong, who's in the right, what could have been, you know, that's all in the past now. Thanks, Erebus. So yeah, that was just my thoughts being poured out there on the Interex. If you guys want more information on them, I believe we did a 40 facts on the human empires of Warhammer 40k. This was a video made like 4 or 5 years ago, so it is kind of old, but there is some more information in there. If you guys want more lore on the Interex, I greatly recommend you guys read Horus Rising. Again, I cannot recommend that book enough. It begins the whole Horus heresy, and you see the seeds of heresy being implanted into the Luna Wolves, and you see who Horus was before he fell to chaos, which is pretty cool. Everybody sees Horus as the big bad guy, but before heresy corrupted him, he was a very interesting character. But I've been rambling long enough, so that's all I got for today, guys. If you guys enjoy the codex that is One Mind Syndicate, we do have a supplement in the form of social media. So hit us up on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram for more things OMS and Warhammer 40k. And with that being said, guys, this has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll be catching you guys in the next one. Peace.